Alright guys, today we are working on a 2013 Honda Civic Hybrid. So this is a little unique given that it's a hybrid. This is a 1.5 as opposed to the NA 1.8. So I think I did see some videos pertaining to this like generation, but not specifically a 2013. So we have two mounts. The transmission or CVT side, which is down below this brake fluid reservoir. You can see that crazy looking bit that looks like a 19, so like a stud 19, a bolt 19, or a nut rather. And this is the airbox side. So my goal for this side is going to be pull out the airbox, because obviously that's pretty easy. I'm going to disconnect, if you guys see these tabs, push them off to the side and pull up. I'm going to disconnect all of these hybrid lines, even this thick loom right here, and just pull all the wires into that void that I made by moving the airbox. And then I feel like I can do this. I mean, obviously the worst one is going to be that nut back there, and then physically getting the mount out of that little corner. But I saw a video and the guys were like moving the ECM and moving all this stuff. So I don't want to touch the ECM. I don't want to touch the brake fluid. I don't want any leaks. So that's going to be my plan of attack for this side. The other side looks much more simple. We obviously have the same stud, nut, or bolt and nut with the stud passing through. We have this bracket, so I'm just going to take that bracket right off from the beginning, from the jump. And I feel like that one will come out pretty simple. Obviously remove that little 10 mil ground strap. Don't forget to put it back. So I think the driver's side, engine side is pretty simple. These mounts were incredibly hard to track down. A lot of those online Honda part stores seem like they had it, but when I called, then they wouldn't have it. I'm on the West Coast, so maybe you'll have better luck on the East Coast. So I think we did find one store that did have them at the end of the day. The price for the two mounts was, I think, around $500. And calling my local Honda dealer, and I don't think they could even source it, just one mount, I think the transmission side, was $750. So the online Honda parts definitely saved us money. I will post a picture of the part numbers, and I will post a picture of the, or a link rather, where we got them. Alright, quick check-in. So the top box is the 4 clips. A little micro Phillips here. I'll push this back. I don't want to take this off because you have all of these pipes here. You can already see we have a little cracking going on, so I would try to leave that here. And then it looks like just a 10 mil there, a 10 mil there. If there's one more, I'll update you on the next one, but that should be it in case you haven't taken this box completely out. And the filter's pretty dirty. Alright guys, we are back. Pump this down more. So the airbox has a second little charge pipe down here at the bottom with this really big elastic band, and it is super annoying to get off because it overlaps the plastic quite a bit. So I just took out those 10 mils I talked about earlier, shifted it to the engine as much as possible. You can see I got this bungee getting these hybrid lines out of my way. Someone was definitely in here because to just tilt the ECM, the lower bolt, I took out this bolt here, and there's a lower bolt that someone had already had loose. So the ECM is wiggling, which I need to get to that bolt right there that I'm lighting up, right there. So I didn't want to touch that, but I guess I have to just turn it. You can see it shiny right here where that bolt is missing. There's a bracket that I took off, which these hybrid lines are attached to, so I just got that bracket out of my way. This little electrical bulkhead was attached somewhere else. Someone has been in here because a lot of things are not like clicked back in where they need to be. So I have good movement with this, so I'm just gonna kind of roll with that and see if I really need the clearance. So I can get to there, I can get a ratchet or a ratcheting wrench on the back one. These two front ones are obviously easy. I I guess the only one left would be like the other side of this one right here. Yeah, that's probably gonna be one of the harder ones. But I think I can just drop an extension with the ratchet. Like, so I'll be kind of doing it blind through this void right here. But yeah, I think this side's gonna come out pretty chill. So I'm gonna work on those bolts. Obviously support the engine before you start, or engine and transmission before you start removing any of this big hardware. But yeah, I just wanted to update you guys, and that's where we're at. All right, guys. So this is out. You can see the 2 bolts, you can see the stud. This is a bracket, and the customer actually asked me if they needed to purchase this. I'm like, anything metal, you can just ignore. I would just maybe mark it, because maybe based on the orientation of it in there, it might be a little more annoying to start those bolts. So I kept track of the orientation. I think they did it so it wasn't so long, so it's easier to get out, because really all you have to do is clear that stud right there, and then it kind of just finagles out. Moving these hybrid lines was nice, getting that out of the way. So yeah, I loosened this, but that didn't really need to be done. Before I even open the package, you can see the Honda part there. You can see this TR2 CVT, I verified that's on there. I just put them next to each other before I open the box, or the packaging. Always check your parts, because you hate to just casually open these things and something's a little off and you don't get your money. So I'm just kind of verifying. The mount surprisingly doesn't look that bad. So I'm hoping maybe the engine side is worse, but I don't really see any obvious cracking. There's, you know, a little bit of stress right there, but I thought it'd be much worse. This thing's super hot for some reason, but yeah, it's out. So we'll get the new one in, and then I'll show you the angles at which I did stuff and what tools I used, so you guys can have an idea if that's something you can do. There's a Subaru motor. You want one? Alright guys, we're back. So I wanted to show you the angles in which I kind of were getting to these things. So I would say like the 2 hardest ones are, first off, that nut towards the back, because obviously it's underneath this little electrical bolt hood. So I use something like this, like an extended lip ratcheting wrench. So it's a 17. So obviously avoiding the battery, avoiding the hybrid lines. Essentially got in there like that, and just beep, 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 beep. Okay, so that's that one. Allowed me to get in there without having tons of space on top. And then obviously the other hard one would be the brother to this front one, the rear one, which is basically directly beneath the brake fluid reservoir. So the way I did that is I just take a socket, a deep socket, and you'll see me, I'm gonna drop it in by hand right now, and then you'll see it's maybe ½ an inch below the surface of that. So then what I used is a ½ inch to 3/8 adapter, so that pretty much gave me that ½ inch that I need, and then I just crack it loose with my 3/8 drive ratchet. So I'll drop this in and then show you how it looks, and then I'll drop that in, and then you'll see how you have access. Cool? Alright, so we're back. Sorry if the wind noise is annoying. So now you can see the ½ inch drive of my socket. It's obviously high and like kind of even with the mount because the bolt is still out. So I already got all of my bolts threaded. You don't want to be, you know, zipping down any of these while you have others to do. So I'm going to do kind of like the 2 hardest and then slowly tighten from there. I'm actually still going to leave it kind of loose just so I can do the engine side as well with as much movement. I don't want to crank on the rubber on this side while I'm, you know, lifting up the engine on the other. So I just wanted to show you guys that's what it looks like. Let me see if I can do this. Nope. That's annoying. Usually have a GoPro. I guess that's not bad. So then with this thing, a little adapter, you creep your hand in here, snap that puppy in, and now you have like really good purchase of something to spin. Like I said, I started my bolt already, so I know it's going in. That's getting pretty close there. So I can't spin it anymore by hand. So then obviously you would attach your 3/8 to there, and then your socket just comes right up. And there's the front one. So yeah, pretty much everything is hand tied right now. So I might just snug up this back one a little bit because it's the hardest one, and then go to the engine side. So I'll show you guys that once I'm there. I physically saw the engine lift up from below, so I know that I'm supporting enough. You can see I have this super long 10-inch extension. This side is comprised of 17s and 19s, whereas the right side or transmission side was all 17s. So these are 19s on top, 17s going down to the subframe, and the little bracket was 14s. So you have, you know, a little bit more complicated things. This 19, I had to get out Big Bertha. I was using just this little Pittsburgh 1/2 inch before for everything else. I would normally use a gun, but it's like 1 in the morning right now. Alright guys, we're back. As you can see, new puppy's in. I have the bottom 17s pretty much hand tight. They have these 19s loosely in. I got my bracket back in. The only thing I did to clear the mount, and it just comes straight up, you see this AC line? I was hitting more on this rigid side as opposed to this rubber side. So all I did was unbolt the 10 just to have a little more room, so I'm not putting any any pinch points as I'm kind of moving that back. So I just pulled it toward the passenger side, and the mount comes straight up. And what catches is the stud for that 14. The stud right there for that 14 wants to catch on the bottom of this. So that's it. Old one's right there. But yeah, this side's definitely easier. It might help to blow out some of the holes here because there's kind of a lot of debris down there. I forgot to mention on the transmission side, I had one bolt that was a little rusted. So if people are spraying down your engine bay, that was a little annoying. So I had to kind of hit that with the wire wheel just to clean it up. But yeah, it didn't have any problem going back in. So we're pretty much done. I will just kind of snug everything up at this point since everything's in a sense where it should be. And then from there, I will lower the engine and transmission to their natural hanging point, and then I'll just torque everything down. All right, guys. So here we are. This is the driver's side strut. So I bought a complete strut on Amazon. On AutoZone, there was kind of confusion. It seemed like people who had 1.8s were buying these, and they were not working. To me, it kind of makes sense. Obviously, this is the 1.5, and the part is labeled for the hybrid, so why would you get it if you have a 1.8? But I don't know. So, just to check stuff, I measured from like the top hat to the bottom hat. It's 11 inches, matches my new one. And I measured from the bottom hat to this first bolt, to the center of the bolt, 6.5. Matches from bolt to bolt center, 3 inches. You can even check your diameter. People are saying they had to drill out the hole so that the bolt could fit. Obviously, I'm not trying to do all that. Things like this you can also check as like your accessories. So you have a brake line here, and obviously you need to have like a tab for that. Over here we have like a dual tab. We have that little clip in and this little clip in, so that my new one has that. And then you can usually tell what side is which with how the sway bar link will attach to it. So this one from Honda has a little right, but the aftermarket one doesn't. But I know the ear is on this side, so pretty simple. Obviously, we're just gonna remove all this accessory stuff, and then we can loosen these bolts. Get the sway bar link off just from this end. We'll leave it on the sway bar itself. And once everything's done down here, then I'll crack the 3 bolts and leave like 1 bolt left, and then we'll just split it. But it's pretty straightforward. I think picking the right part and just knowing that it's going to be the right one before you get too involved is more important here. But we'll be back probably with the new part loosely in, unless something weird came up, and I'll let you know. I'll show you what it's like on top too once I loosen those 3. Alright, so we're still on the driver's side. This is what the top of the strut mount looks like, or top of the strut. So there was a little cover, let's see, I think that popped out, and then you can see there's kind of an accessory cover here. So you can see behind that 10 mil to the right, there's this black socket. You could probably do it several ways, and obviously you could even remove this whole plastic cowl underneath the wipers. But they do give you access. You can see here behind my wrench, there's even that little circle tab. You can just pry that up and you would get access to that one right below it. But nothing really seems to help for this back left one. So that one is the hardest. So I have a 14 mil on there, which is what it is. But these low profile sockets have a 17 on the back, so it's actually really convenient. So I was able to get a wrench on there. I was able to get my ratcheting wrench on there. So if you don't have something like that, I probably would recommend removing the cowl. It looks like there's a split here, you can see. So you can probably just take the wiper off and take off this outside one, and that's probably why they only have the cap there, so that you don't have to take off like this whole entire centerpiece. So it looks like that's a possibility. I just don't feel like messing with these plastics and wanting stuff to break. So I would start by loosening the hardest one, which is that back left, and then hoping you can spin it off with your hand, because if you do these first two easy ones and then you leave all the weight on the back one or the hard one, it'll obviously like have the weight of the suspension, and then it won't usually thread out by hand. So I would crack that one, loosen it completely, then do the second hardest, and then leave the easiest finger loose, supporting the strut, and then when you're ready to remove it from down below, you can lift like with one hand and then reach on over the top and loosen this last easy nut with your hand, and then it drops out. So the new one's in. You can see everything went together really well. This end-link mount looks like it's high, I guess it would be lower than the factory one. So it seems like it's kind of like high right now, so I'm not going to tighten it until the other one's the same, and then they'll obviously be in the same spot, and I'll zap them down. But yeah, everything went together pretty well. Definitely not too bad. I would say maybe 45 minutes, and that's with me like using hand tools and taking my time with these stupid bolts up here. But yeah, pretty chill.